Well, hello Israel. Welcome to my kitchen. I am Rebekah Bat Yehovah from Teshuvah Ministries, and today I have an idea for you for unleavened bread. So the Feast of Unleavened Bread, as you know, goes for 7 days. The first day and the last day are high Shabbats. And the command in the Torah for unleavened bread basically says, of course, to get rid of the leaven, but actually it also says more times than you're supposed to get rid of the leaven, you're supposed to eat unleavened bread. So there's actually 10 commands in there. Papa says it 10 times that you are supposed to eat unleavened bread. And he only says in there twice that you're supposed to get rid of the leaven. So we can see here clearly that his emphasis is on eating unleavened bread. So today I'm going to show you a really quick and easy recipe to make an unleavened bread that is flexible, that is super tasty and good, because I tell you, the stuff that you buy at the store from Brother Judah is nonsense. Okay, that is disgusting and it's crackers. Of course, you can make it better with a ton of chocolate and a ton of caramel and do all kinds of funky things with it, but that is not going to impress upon the hearts of your children the way to eat of Yeshua, because Yeshua is the unleavened one, remember? And so the whole feast is about eating of Yeshua. So while you're noshing on your unleavened bread, which is sweet, it's so good, you're going to be talking about Yeshua and his personality. You're going to talk about what he did. You're going to talk about how he engaged with people, how he lived his life here. You're going to talk about what he did in certain situations. You're going to eat of him. You're going to learn how he operated, and then you're going to consume that. That's the whole point of unleavened bread. So for 7 days, you're supposed to eat unleavened bread and consider Yeshua at the same time. So the unleavened bread that we're going to make is simply a symbol, a metaphor, something, when he broke the bread, he said, Baruch atah YHVH Elohim melech haolam hamotzi lekem min haaretz. Blessed are you, YHVH Elohim, King of the universe, who brought forth the bread from the earth. And he broke it, and then he passed it around to his disciples, right? And so he was telling us that we need to eat of him. Remember, he says over and over, you must eat of me to have life. You must drink my blood to have life. So today I just have a recipe for you that I'm going to walk you through super quickly. So you're going to need a bowl, obviously. You're going to need a spoon. You're going to need eggs. You're going to need some kefir, which is basically like, you could use plain yogurt as well. And I would use the Greek style, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that it's all organic, in my opinion. No, it does matter, because you want quality food, right? Quality ingredients to make a really nice unleavened bread. You need some salt. You're going to need some butter. I keep my butter in a little, something I got when we lived off grid, a craft here. They put little water in and they put your butter in so it can stay soft. You're going to need some flour, and you might need some sugar if you want to add that. You don't have to add the sugar if you don't want to. You need a rolling pin, and I have a little cutter here, a little dough cutter, but you don't need it. Now, if you're gluten intolerant, instead of the white flour that has a lot of gluten in it, obviously, you might want to try some brown rice flour. You might want to try adding some xanthan gum. You could use millet flour, quinoa. There's all kinds of different flours you can try. I can't remember if barley flour has a lot of gluten in it, but you can use that. You can also use acorn flour. You're going to need a stone, okay? And this is going to go into your oven at 400 degrees. So sometimes, and I'm going to talk about this for a second, this is a thin pizza stone. So this works if you put it in the oven. If you put it on top of the stove, then the center gets super hot and not the edges. So you really want to bake your matzah in the oven, or outside over a fire would be a little bit better. We also used to have a chimney flume that Isaac cut, and so I had really thick brick, and it was in a pad like this, and I would put it into my oven and heat it. it took, man, it took an hour and a half to 2 hours to heat the thing all the way through so that it was super hot. So when you throw your matzah on that really thick stone, it's got so much heat in it that's baking it super fast from the bottom, and then you've got the oven on the top, and that makes for a really nice matzah, because then you don't have to like burn it. It won't burn. It just and you can flip it over or not. It cooks within 30 seconds to a minute, depending. So anyway, but for today, I don't have a chimney flume cut to put in my oven. I don't have a wood-fired oven outside. I don't have it set up to do outside, which I love cooking outside. But I'm going to put this in my oven, heat it up to 400 degrees, and then we'll make this. And I'll show you how to do it. So I don't actually measure very well, so I don't really do really good recipes, but I'm going to kind of just walk you through kind of what I do. So just watch and pay attention. Maybe you can kind of guess along beside me. But basically we're looking at, I'm going to do probably about 3.5, that's probably 3.5 cups, something like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put the salt in, and I do like a tablespoon of salt. I like it salty, so we're going to put a tablespoon of salt in. I like a little sugar. You don't have to put the sugar in again, but I just reach in. I'm thinking maybe a little bit, like 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons, something like that. Okay, and then we're going to mix it with our hands. All right, and then I make a little well in it. And then we're gonna add our eggs and our kefir and our butter. So I put my eggs. I do about 2 eggs for about 4 cups of flour. And it depends, if that seems a little too eggy, then you can back off on the eggs. But the eggs and the kefir or the yogurt actually make it so that it's flexible. But it also means that it can't really sit out on the counter for, days and days and days. You want to put it in the fridge. Yeah. Sometimes mine sit out for a while. It's okay. So I'm going to put just maybe 1/2 cup. So I'm going to put a nice healthy scoop of butter into that. You want some fat in here to help. And if the butter is a little bit more soft, the softer the better. Okay, now, all right, so it's super thick, and I need some more liquid. So we're gonna add some water. And I have filtered distilled water. And we're just going to make a nice dough is the idea here. So I'm going to mix this in just a little bit more with the whip. You can use a fork. At some point, we're going to use our hands. All right, now as you can see, I put too much water in, so I'm going to make this dry by adding more flour. Now, I actually really like to mix flours. Today, I don't have a whole lot of flours to mix, so sometimes I use like kamut flour or barley flour, like a whole wheat flour, Sonora flour, Eichorn flour, different flours, especially if you get the heirloom flours, something that's a little more healthy for you than just straight white. If you do though, if you use other flours, it's going to change the texture of it. So the white is going to give it super flexible. It's going to be super flexible because it's got all that gluten in there. The other kinds, if you add other flours, then it's going to be a little more, it can break easier, but you can do it with the yogurt, and the eggs. That's going to help a lot. All right, a little bit more. If you weren't as impatient as I am, then you probably wouldn't have put too much water in. And you probably know a better way to do this than I do. But I've been doing this for a long time, and it's just kind of the easiest way for me. So you want it like satiny. You don't want it sticky, you want it like satin. And you're going to get flour everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to trade the bowl out for a cutting board. All right, now I've got my dough right here. I'm going to just knead it for just a few minutes. You're not going to knead it a ton, but you know, and another thing you can do is actually put this in the fridge for a little bit, and that helps. Sometimes during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, I will put a huge bowl of matzah in this stage right here, lots of it in the fridge in a big bowl, and then I'll just grab pieces of it throughout the course of the week and roll it out, throw it on the pan, and we have our matzah really fast. So I don't have to make matzah every single day. It's in there, and sometimes the refrigeration helps. It helps bring it together, especially if you're using other flours besides white. That refrigeration, the cold, does something to it. I don't know. Look at that. Super nice. I like that. This is more satiny now. So what we're going to do is take my little cutter, and I'm going to cut off little pieces of it to roll out. Actually, this time I'll make a big one this time. So I'm going to cut this, I think about in a quarter here. Is going to give me a nice big sized matzah. So when you cut it, you're going to see the inside is still a little sticky. So just go ahead and knead it again with a little flour. All right, then take your handy dandy little rolling pin. And I always flip it. So you're going to roll a little bit, and then you're going to flip it. Do you see how I did that? You roll it, flip it. That will keep both sides evenly floured and make it easy to flip. Now, a trick with this, with good matzah, is you have to make it thin, okay? If you make it too thick, you're gonna have way too much flour in your stomach, for one thing. But for another thing, thinner is better, okay? Then you can cook it faster on the pan in the oven, and you don't have to let it bake for too long, which means then you're not going to burn it as easily, okay? So you gotta get it thin. Okay, so the crackers that they call matzah at the store don't even compare to this. You're gonna love this. All right, do you see how thin that is? Do you see how thin that is? Almost like a pizza, what you'd imagine, you know, when they spin the pizza dough, right? It's almost like that. The flour's gonna like pull back when you roll it, so just keep working it. And sometimes you can let it rest for a little bit and then continue to work it. Okay, but you definitely don't want it bigger than the size of your pan, right? So this may be right at that size. So I'm gonna let the pan heat up, and then I'm gonna come back and show you. I throw it on the pan, and we'll bake it for just a few minutes, and then I'll show you the final product. Okay, so while we're still waiting for the stone to heat up, I just wanted to mention that you can totally add to the top of this all kinds of things, but one of the things that I like to do is, if you like it more salty, you could roll in some kosher salt. So you just sprinkle some kosher salt on here and then roll it in so that it's firmly in there. That's always really tasty to do. Another thing I wanted to mention is that one fun thing that we're starting to do for Feast of Unleavened Bread is to invite people over for a matzah making party, basically, where I teach them how to make matzah. So last night we were all around here, lots of kids and stuff. I gave them bowls, I gave them rolling pins, and then I got out all my ingredients, and they all made their own, rolled it out, and then they each had a special matzah cover, basically a little piece of fabric that they put their matzah in, and then when we went out in the tent and ate, they ate from their own, their stash that they had just made. So one of the things that I think will make next time go quicker is if I had more stones that we can do it a little faster, and then to make sure that they all have all the equipment they need, and I need more cutting boards for them, but that's just a work in progress of getting things I need for doing something like that. But that was a fun tradition that you might want to do. That smells so good, and it's bubbling, so sometimes it creates bubbles in the matzah. Okay, so one thing that I use on big pieces like this is a pizza peel in order to pull it out or to flip it. This time I think I'm going to do a little flip job on it, so I'm going to use a pizza peel. So if you don't have a pizza peel, don't worry, just gently pick it up with your fingers and flip it. Or if you have smaller little matzahs instead of the big one like I'm doing, you can use a little spatula to flip it. That will work just as well. Okay, so I think that's done, so let's get it out. There you go. So like I said, it will cook a lot faster if your stone is super hot, and if your stone is thicker, and if your stone has been in there for a long time, it'll cook super fast. This took a little bit longer because it's bigger, but also because my stone wasn't super hot. Look at that, super fun. That is so nice, and it's a little bit hot there. Okay, so I love to eat matzah with all kinds of things. I'm sure you do too, like with lavana cheese or some sort of goat cheese. I love it with tzatziki sauce or shug. I love it just, plain with butter. Sometimes I put peanut butter on it. We use it for wraps. We put cinnamon and sugar on it sometimes. We eat it with fruit. Eat it with all kinds of nummy things. And so this morning, I'm going to have it with just straight butter. Oh yes. So good. It's soft, it's flexible, it's got a nice little crust to it, and the taste is so good. Nothing like that store-bought stuff, that junk. Nothing like that. This is what a believer in Yeshua the Messiah, who knows that eating of him is sweet and wonderful, is going to be making, because this is wonderful, sweet, wonderful. It's going to help you want to eat of Yeshua. So good. I love it. So may you make some matzah to eat as you talk about Yeshua and eat of Yeshua, the unleavened one, this week. Unleavened bread. Okay, there's my idea for you for unleavened bread. Shalom. Oh, and just quickly, you could also eat it with butter and honey. Oh, how sweet is that, right? Butter, a nice amount of butter. Whoops. And a nice amount of honey. That is good.